the commit stage, your goal is just to get people to really express an active interest in what you have to offer, whether that's a free training or an ebook download or an actual live call that you want people to sign up to, or whatever else is your strategy for getting people's email addresses. And I know some of you at this point would just be saying, hey, should I just save my money and start with this stage and just drive traffic straight to getting people to sign up to my email list? And controversially enough, I'm going to say, yeah, you could, and you would get results. But you're not here because you want to get results. You're here because you want to get the best results possible for your budget. And not only is it possible to get 50 to 100% cheaper leads if you take that extra step to warm up your audience with the connect stage before jumping in and getting them to your email list, but these people are actually a lot more likely to also convert into customers in your next stage, which is the close stage. So if you're currently not getting the results for the price that you want when it comes to your lead conversions or your sales, it could actually be because you skipped the process of warming up your audience and educating them and entertaining them in the connect phase. But the good news is that it's never too late to go back and connect with your people. And as we're moving through to the commit stage, here are a few things for you to keep in mind. At the time of recording, Facebook needs a minimum of 50, but ideally between 50 to 100 conversions per ad set per week in order to give you the best results possible. So you need to have a large enough budget allocated to each of your ad sets to make that happen. So no matter what your conversion is set at, whether that's a lead or an add to cart or a purchase, you need to make sure that your ad set has a large enough daily budget to give you at least 50 conversions per week in order to be optimized to its fullest. So that's something for you to keep in mind as we head into this stage. The next thing to keep in mind is that your lead generating offer should be super aligned with your final paid offer. And the reason I bring this up is because you might have 5 or 6 different ways of getting people onto your email list organically, and that's awesome. Absolutely keep that up. Keep doing what you're doing. But when it comes to running these paid ads, you want to focus on the people who would be most likely to become a customer and what you can give them away for free to help them solve a similar pain point to what your final paid offer solves. So as an example, I have a lead magnet for people to get access to my animated templates for their YouTube video end screens, which actually works pretty well for getting people onto my email list. But all that this kind of lead magnet tells me about this audience that would be attracted to this is that they likely create YouTube videos, which could really be anyone from real estate agents to 13-year-old TikTok stars. So this kind of offer would not really make for a good targeted offer for me to advertise to during this commit stage. So let's once again just take a look at Emily's agency as an example of what you could try at this commit stage in a way that is super aligned with the offer that will be presented at the close stage. At the commit stage, it looks like she has 2 lead generating ads. One that runs to a free strategic 3-day private podcast training, and one that promotes her monthly report opt-in. Now, these here are just examples because she's running a couple of different variations of each of these, but the actual offer itself remains the same. And I'm really sorry, but the ad on the left was crazy long, so I had to chop it into 2 to fit the whole text in, but it's just one ad on the left and one on the right. But these are both really, really aligned with her final paid offer, which we'll talk about in the next lesson. But the thing that I really like about this approach is that they cater to different people. Some people will prefer to join a hands-on multi-day training, while others will just kind of want the stats and the facts sent straight to their inbox to skim over because they're just way too busy for a training. So that's something for you to keep in mind for your own business, that it's always a really good idea to test out different offers at this stage to see what's resonating with your audience and what they're signing up to. In terms of how to set this up inside of your ads manager, we would be looking to run a conversion campaign with leads as our goal, and then you can create an ad set that retargets people who engage with your content in the connect stage. So let's take a look at how to do that now. And now in terms of how this is all going to be set up on the back end inside of our ads manager, we would be creating a campaign for conversions. So we want to make sure we are selecting conversion here. and we would be using the registrations to our event, or a registration or a lead for a download or something like that as the conversion event. So in this case, we would be using for me, it's middle of the funnel. And let's say we're still going with the campaign of a GIF, because that's what we use at the top of the funnel as our video, and we're looking to extend that into the middle of the funnel, and we're actually getting people onto our email list. But in this case, our actual objective is going to be conversions and leads. So these are all my shortcuts. Use your own, of course, but that's what works for me. And in this case, I'm just going to use my campaign name, my placement still, my optimization, and I'll say engaged video viewers. And if I also have a limit on this, so I could say 7 days. So only people who have watched this video within the 7 days are going to get this particular ad. We need to make sure we have our actual conversion event set up. So in this case, I would want to make sure that my conversion for complete registrations is set up, not using dynamic creative. I would be happy to put a daily budget of, let's say, even just $10 is still really good. Again, we want to make sure we are giving it enough for those 50 conversions at a minimum per week. So we'll keep an eye on how much a conversion is going to cost me and making sure that this is a good enough budget for it, but also making sure it's proportionate to my actual audience size. This video to really have a big enough audience. But let's say I say, okay, people who have watched at least 3 seconds of my video, selecting my Facebook page here and making sure I'm selecting the right video. And I would say in the last 7 days. So those are my if video viewers 7 days, and I'm not going to bother too much with the description at this stage, but it's going to tell me that my audience is too small, right? And that's okay, because at this stage, I'm just prepping everything. This campaign is going to be off until my top of funnel, my connect campaigns are running. They're getting a really large audience ready for me, so that once I start running this, it's going to have a large enough base here for me to run to. So keep in mind that your audience is really just pulling from whatever happened in the previous stage, because it's just retargeting people who you've pushed this video out to in the connect or the top of funnel stage. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to narrow in on your audience here if you don't feel it's right and you still are testing things, and you just want to keep it really broad, and set this your region is worldwide. Keep your ages really open so you can test what's working and what isn't, and also to make this a little bit larger for you if your budget isn't huge. That's totally fine, but just keep in mind that at this stage you're starting to pay for leads. So you're really going to start to pay for people who are going to be joining your email list, and you're obviously paying for them to be on your email list. So if you want them to be really, really targeted, and you know that your target market is based in Australia and America and Canada, or it could be a very specific country for your target market, then you can really start to narrow in on it, and it'll say, okay, we're going to show it to everyone who's viewed your video in the last 7 days, but only people living in this location. And you also want to make sure you're selecting living in this location, not recently visited. And then you can really start to break this down by your target age group as well. For me, I know that that 18 to 22 range is really not people that I would potentially want on my email list if I have a choice. If I have a choice, I would rather spend that money in this particular age group. Okay, and potentially I would turn off detailed targeting expansion, because at this stage I am wanting to really see how this strategy is working for me. So I don't want to be going outside of what I'm selecting here. So I want to make sure that that's off. And we just want to make sure that we are excluding people who have already performed the action that we are looking to target here. So you want to make sure you are creating an audience of people who have already signed up for whatever it is that you're looking for them to sign up to, and that it's a dynamic audience. For me, this is people who have signed up to this free training in the 180 days prior to me running this ad, and that's going to keep adding new people to this custom audience. So if the ad within this ad set gets delivered to someone within this audience and they sign up to my email list and they sign up to this training, then they're going to be included in this training, which means they're never going to see these ads again because Facebook's going to exclude them. That's really, really important, and it's a very, very important step that people often forget, because especially if this audience is small, Facebook might keep showing your ads to people who have already converted and who have already signed up for the thing that you want them to sign up to. So always make sure you're excluding people from your ad sets based on what actions they've already performed. And if building out custom audiences like this is still really new to you and you're not sure how to go about this, don't worry too much. We will go into some advanced tactics on how to do this in a later lesson. Okay, so happy with that. I would actually just put in English as the language, just force of habit, and we would go for manual placements again. And in this example, I'm just going to be using an existing ad I already have running just to show you guys how to set this up. But if you are creating all of your ads from scratch, then of course, use as many placements as you're comfortable with and just make sure that you are customizing it for each placement. We'll go more into that within the copy and creative lesson where we take a look at how to do this in case you're not already familiar with it. But just because I know which ad I'm going to be using, I'm really only going to be using the Facebook newsfeed. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and name this. And then I would just put in, whatever identifying factor there is for this particular ad. Now I'm going to be using an existing post, but I'm actually going to be using an ad ID. So I want to make sure that I'm going over to an existing campaign that's performed really well for me. And I've got my ad here. I can head on over to preview, and I want to go over to desktop newsfeed. And I'm going to pop this out by saying see post with comments. And then in the URL, I can actually just grab this post ID and then jump in here and just go into enter post ID, put it in here, submit, and it's just going to take an existing ad from a different campaign that's already got all of this beautiful social proof on it. It's got comments, it's got shares, it's got all of this stuff. I'm not able to change it in any way, shape, or form, but I can use it for this campaign, and I'm able to track my conversions. I know it's, to sign up for a free training. It's something that is aligned with what happened previously, which is my GIF educational video, and it's aligned with what I would do in the close stage, which would be, some sort of social media marketing paid offer. So that works really well for me. And then I would just go ahead and publish that, but I would make sure to actually turn this campaign off until I have a large enough audience built up within my warm audience from that top of funnel or that connect stage. All right, so I would just go in here and just make sure this is turned off until that audience is large enough. But just because it's turned off doesn't mean I can't continue to work on it, right? So we've got this ad set in here, which is the engaged video viewers, but I could build this out to include other ad sets. So I could include people who have visited my website, people who have engaged with my Facebook page, people who have expressed an interest in registering to an event. I can test out so many different ad sets at this stage. It doesn't just have to be these video viewers. It's just that this is the most powerful structure for converting people into email subscribers and into buyers. But it doesn't mean that you don't go and test out as many ad sets as you want, as you would normally. And you can do that within this campaign as well. And if you are getting stuck on what you can actually target off of and how to construct your ad sets, we will get into that in a later lesson when we talk about how to do some more advanced hacks with your ad set. So if you are struggling for inspiration on this front, don't worry about it for now, but just know that this is a campaign that would be turned off until these two have done their thing and I have a large enough audience of at least a couple thousand people that I can then target with my conversion ads.